Welcome to today's service at the Auckland Unitarians. My name is Derek Handley, although since just after COVID I have unfortunately not been as common a face around here as I'd like to have been. I do have the pleasure of supporting Clay from time to time, and today I'm stepping in to lead the service, so thank you too for welcoming me back into the space. Nau mai, haere mai, ki tēnei whare karakia, tēnā koutou katoa, kia ora. Welcome. We'll spend the next hour or so together taking this space and taking time to reflect on things not so much in this world but of them. And we will spend this time to pause what's outside and consider what's inside. We will let baggage unburden itself, let the clocks tick by, and let whatever comes come. Nau mai, haere mai, tēnā koutou katoa. As I light this chalice, let us be grateful for the light in our lives, even as we honor the darkness from which light comes. Please join me in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God. Please stand if you can to sing our opening hymn, Spirit of Life. I'd like to invite the rest of the congregation to come up and share your joys and concerns that you may have.
Hello, my name's Joss, and this candle's for my ex-wife who died yesterday. My name's Bruce Tasker, and I'm lighting this candle for my sister Deirdre, who is sitting with me today. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Vivian, and I'm also lighting a candle for Veronica, your ex-wife, who's a good friend. Because of her, she welcomed me. I know this is strange, but 25 years ago when I met Jos, only a short time after he split up from her, she welcomed me to the family, and it meant that all these years I've had a good relationship with his three sons, that I've been invited to everything. There's been no feeling of resentment, of splitting up a family, and she's been an amazing lady. She's also welcomed my daughter into the fold, and we've had lots of happy times together.
In case you don't remember, I'm Clay, your minister. youngest daughter is a teacher in Colorado, and she's been exposed and is in isolation for the virus. She's tested negative the first time, so fingers crossed. But it's also a candle of joy since the 20th of January, where the whole world has given a sigh. And I suppose I should add, this is a candle of joy for how Bernie and his mittens have unified the world.
Hi, I'm Jeff, just visiting today. We left St. Augustine, Florida just about a year ago today. Maybe not, roughly a year ago today. Where we attend the St. Augustine Beach Unitarian Church when we're in St. Augustine. And this is a candle just in, I guess, remembrance of what was a safe voyage on our 34-foot catamaran to the Bay of Islands, although it was a difficult year to be traveling. We spent 3 months, and we planned to be here to watch the America's Cup, but we spent 3 months in Panama unexpectedly with the lockdown there. And unbelievably, when we left Panama for French Polynesia, there were 0 active cases of COVID. But then the French very kind of haphazardly opened the border, and they now have had 19,000 cases in a population of 200,000, which makes it one of the highest incidents. Although their death rate's been very low, only 128 deaths. It's been very fortunate. So anyhow, happy to be here, and same of the joys as Clay, of course. So nice to be here. Thanks.
Each of us, I'm sure, have joys and concerns left in our hearts that are maybe we prefer are left unsaid. And so I light this candle for those. It says in the program that we're going to do the Kohaim, but I'm actually going to do the reading first and then come back to the Kohaim. So my reading today is it's a weave of Ecclesiastes 3 and chapter 29 of the Taoist text, Tao Te Ching. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that nothing is better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, and that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of his work. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. All go to the same place, all come from dust, and to dust all return. That which is has already been, and what is to be has already been. Do you think you could take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. Everything under heaven is a sacred vessel and cannot be controlled. Trying to control leads to ruin. Trying to grasp, we lose. Allow your life to unfold naturally. Know that it too is a vessel of perfection. Just as you breathe in and breathe out, there is a time for being ahead and a time for being behind, a time for being in motion and a time for being at rest. a time for being vigorous and a time for being exhausted, a time for being safe and a time for being in danger. The Master sees things as they are, without trying to control them. She lets them go their own way and resides at the center of the circle. What's wonderful about when I was putting this together was, if you remove the parts about judgment in Ecclesiastes, I don't believe in a God or an energy that is here to judge us and hold us accountable. But if you remove those pieces, you could as easily swap the word God for Tao and the word Tao for God in the two texts, and you would be able to slightly change a few phrases and not know the difference between the two. I love how it ends of residing at the center of the circle. As you know, the yin-yang symbol of the different colors and the dots, and it's this kind of axis in the circle of staying centered and unperturbed no matter what's spinning around you, whether it's the darkness or the light. And what I love about this place, even though I'm not here that much, is that it fosters the ability for us to think and synthesize. And I think, again, in the theme of seasons and cycles, that for faith and belief, we're at the beginning of a cycle of a new era where that's how we should see the world. Synthesis of all these different ways in which we have learned to become wise as a species. I would now ask that you stand, if you can, to join us for the Koha hymn. Thank you. So, when Claire asked me to pick a subject, a topic, I really had in my mind this topic of in seasons. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but I have been thinking about it for a while. So this is the riff on that thematic. It is over 200 years ago that the British abolitionist William Wilberforce fought slavery in the UK for over 20 years before he finally achieved the Slave Trade Act in 1807, which was really just the precursor to a number of other acts that were required to make a dent in that problem. But yet I don't know if you picked up, as I did, that it was just a few months ago in New Zealand that we had our first conviction for slavery and human trafficking in this country. We've also witnessed, reminded by the fact of Martin Luther King Day last week in America, how long it takes for progress on other issues of justice with the backdrop of all that went on in that country last year. The world slowly, steadily cycles back and forth as it makes breakthroughs and sprints, and then is broken back and stumbles, and then lumbers and undulates along eventually to get where it's going, to get us to where we are. But for many issues and many causes, change is slow, and the cycles and the seasons are very long. Maybe it is as well with the change sometimes that we'd like to see in ourselves. As has already been mentioned a number of times today, we can all be thankful perhaps that there are certain cycles that are fixed, some to 4 years. The historic week that has just passed marks the turning point of one such cycle on the global stage, and we have been jarringly exited out of one season, and we find ourselves at the dawn of another in America and for the world. Not a season of weather, but a season of willingness. Willingness to engage again in the world at large, willingness to listen to science, both for our health and for our climate, and willingness to lead on behalf of everyone, not on behalf of only one. Closer to home, too, we are in our own season, our own peculiar version of that. Sways from left to right, seasons generally 6, but sometimes 9 years long. We welcome in a season of red, we give them a chance, they make a few changes, we realize they can't quite figure it all out, they don't quite have all the answers, we get tired of red and we slowly shift to blue. We give them a chance, they make a few changes, we realize they can't figure it all out and don't have all the answers, we get tired of blue and we slowly shift back to red. I Googled this the other day and it literally was like red, blue, red, blue. It was like a bar chart going all the way back to like World War II. Swinging back and forth and back and forth. And every time we expect something different, we expect a lot. We expect a lot of things. And almost always, I think we expect too much. Maybe we should expect less, knowing that eventually, like a steady, reliable, ever-moving pendulum, zigzagging our way, spiraling up from the yin to the yang, yang to the yin, like the changing of seasons, is how we eventually, as a race, move forwards. This seeks to be a simple talk today, not placing too much on you and I to consider or take in, but to use the opportunity of the summer, of the high, hopefully, that we're still on, of summer, with the simplicity of asking, what does it mean to live in season? In the Chinese Taoist view, of which we've already heard some of, things are always changing. We are always ever changing. All of life is just seasons. Seasons after seasons after seasons. Yin and yang, yang and yin. Last year, I discovered that Japan has 72 micro-seasons for the natural world, with just the most incredible names for each of them, like fish emerge from the ice, caterpillars become butterflies, frogs start singing, self-heal withers. I also love great rain sometimes falls, and insects hole up underground. Those are just some of the names of the 72 micro-seasons. It makes me jealous of plants and birds and insects and trees because something inside of me feels that we too should live more seasonally because we too are part of nature. We are part of the natural world. We are the natural world. And everything in nature works to a cycle, to a season. And as we too are part of nature, well, why don't we? I think in the great transition from living on the land to industrialized life, most of us as a species, especially I guess in urban environments and working professionals, who check emails and put on suits and have meetings and get in their car, we have dislocated from the direct synchronicity with the cycles of the natural world. The clock of hours, the bulb of electric light, the work week of 5 on, 2 off, all these components of the unnatural man-made world has forced us apart. And we've got disconnected from living seasonally. I did a little bit of Googling about this idea. Has anyone cracked it in some form? And instead I was met with the idea that we've gotten so far away from it that we've now decided we have a sickness of it. I discovered there exists a thing, seasonal affective disorder, which kind of blew my mind. It basically means like we've forgotten how to live in tune with nature. A type of depression that relates to the seasons and funnily enough only comes on during certain seasons. But I also found a beautiful saying from an Aboriginal elder, when the land rests, you rest, which I wish was true of modern life. But the way we've got it set up at the moment, we're just not allowed to. I can't imagine people texting their bosses, hey, the land is resting today, so do you mind if I come in on Monday? We do afford ourselves, however, in New Zealand at least, just one portion of a season to live more truly in tune with it, and that's the summer. A few weeks in the year, everyone has license to live in tune with nature. It's okay for everyone, which is a gift. A friend of mine last week shared with such happiness that through these few golden weeks of summer, when she's based in a caravan on a beach, she works only when the tide is out. And I thought, that is it. That's how we should live. We should live by these signals of nature. But the other 48 weeks, we are captive to the clock more than in the chorus with the cosmos. I've also always found it out of sync to start the calendar year setting out the plans and goals at exactly the time of the year where I feel like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be thinking about anything, and I don't want to be connected to devices or thinking about the myriad of responsibilities and outcomes that I might want to achieve in that year. When January 1st rolls by, you're meant to get your year in order and create new rituals and commitments and resolutions, and I'd rather be doing all the things that my friend's doing, just going to work and thinking about things when the tide is coming in and out. It feels naturally something more like an activity that we should be doing in spring, sowing seeds, planting like the gardener of our own life. So what's been interesting to me recently is this question of what seasons are we in tune with? Are we living in tune with the seasons of what our time calls us, of what our generation, our zeitgeist, the challenges and opportunities of our time as humans is calling of each of us to respond to? Because there is need everywhere for talented, caring, professional, passionate people to step up and step into. Are we responding to those calls in the seasons we find ourselves in? Are we living in tune with the seasons of where we are in the cycle of life, of our age, of our parenthood, of our careers? Are there past times and places we should let go of, or new ones we should move towards? Are there memories or regrets or resentments we should leave behind so we can move ahead? Are we living in tune with the natural world around us? Are we the same person in summer as we are in winter, in autumn as in spring? And should we be? There is a time for everything, and everything has its time. Nothing in nature blooms all year, so why do we expect it of ourselves? If you're happy to stand, please join us once more to sing our closing hymn/song by the Birds. Please join me in the words as we extinguish the shallows. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Right, okay, as someone just mentioned, this morning tea afterwards, but also shortly those present here will break out into small groups for a short conversation. And then those who wish to stay for morning tea, please do. The conversation starter I propose to consider for today is just, in what ways could we or you be living more in season? The time of the year, your life, or our time. Without summer, there is no winter. Without nothingness, there can be no everything. Without darkness, there can be no light. In our current and ever-evolving understanding of the origins of the universe, the light of everything that exploded from not quite nothing is a light that became the maybe everything of which we are all just a tiny part. As we find our way through the shadows on our path, Let the light we have kindled here together today become a light for each of us and to brighten the lamps of those around us. Thank you all very much for being here this morning. Tihei Mauri ora. Amen.